Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'll assume that you're all listening because you want to know more about how influential military customers can be. First, I'd like to introduce myself and give you a bit of background so that you know where I'm coming from. My name is Kim Lagasse. I am the owner of Hampton Roads Military Appreciation. I was born and raised in a military family. I'm a Navy brat. I was a medic in the United States Air Force and also for a short time a military spouse. I've worked for the Navy as a civilian, and I've been at Hampton Roads for about 13 years now. And unless I win the lottery and move to a tropical island, I'm here for life. Let me preface this by saying that this is solely my opinion. Nobody's paying me to talk about them. Um, this is just what I found in my own research. Um, I think that at the end of this, you will most likely agree with me that this major company has used all the military customers to make themselves a household name. Um, Everybody knows their product, everybody wants their product, and they can't have it because it's only marketed to military customers. I can't even envision how I would handle a business that had this much success on my own. And it's interesting to note that the product that they started with isn't exactly what they're still offering today. What they offer today are great products. They didn't quite start there, though. So let's talk about the statistics. I know statistics are dry and they're boring. I'm going to keep it real basic. I have to illustrate them, though, so that you can understand the power of the market that Hampton Roads is. Um, Overall, military service members that are currently on active duty are about 0.5% of the U.S. population. Okay, and add in veterans, throw in the veterans, and you have 22 million veterans that have ever served for a grand total of a whopping 7.3% of the current U.S. population. That's not a lot. That's not enough to change anything you do marketing wise. I mean, it's just it's not that big of a number. Um, so that type of number isn't going to have a very big market change or market influence. Um, what's really important is when you drill down that data to Hampton Roads. So this is where it gets interesting for me. Um, let's talk about the population of Hampton Roads. Population of Hampton Roads is 1.36 million and change adults, with 73,000 of those being active duty. That's about 5.4% of our population. But that amounts to 10 times the national average of active duty military members. And those active duty military members, they have regular, pretty much guaranteed paychecks. And that's important. You need that in order for them to be able to buy your product. They need to have a regular income. That percentage of military does not include veterans. Local area veterans make up 16.9% of the population. When you add them together, that's 22.3% of the population of Hampton Roads is either on active duty or at one time in their life was on active duty. And that's a pretty decent share of the local market. I mean, that's a quarter to a fifth of the local market, and I don't think that anybody in business in Hampton Roads can afford to ignore that number. Um, so, if your business isn't actively seeking out those people, I mean, you could be burning stacks of money. So, taking that number into account, that does not include the family members, particularly the spouses, because I don't know if you've ever been a military spouse. I have. My mother was. Spouses make a lot of the buying decisions. Spouses are generally home more often than the active duty member. And so when you add those people in, I mean, you're looking at a whole different number. I mean, a bigger number that's an influencer in the market, and they talk to each other. That's the beauty of it, is they talk to each other, and they're going to tell each other where the good businesses are and where the bad businesses are, and they're going to tell each other who offers a military discount and provides good service with it. So that leads us back to this super influential business that got started by only marketing to military members, but not all military members. This company actually started marketing only to military officers. Military officers make up anywhere between a third to a tenth of the military population, depending on what branch of service and what line of work the people are in, and where you source your data. So I'm going to be generous and call it a third. And so a third of the active duty population in San Antonio, Texas in 1922 changed the market for the product that they offer. Using that, they became one of the most reputable players in their industry and have set the standard across the industry for how to conduct business. I would say that marketing to military members might be a pretty savvy move when you consider all of the other data that I've given you thus far. So this company got started using only a third of the active duty military population, if we're being generous, and that population makes up 0.5% of the United States. And so they became the biggest player in their field, or the most influential player in their field, by marketing just to those people. They didn't even open up to enlisted folks until 1996. That's 74 years in business before they decided they needed to do something to grow, like other than what the growth that had naturally occurred using their methods already. Um, but it was still coveted by those enlisted folks. There were rumors for a couple of years before this happened that, when we went overseas, enlisted folks would buy it. We had to be overseas to buy it. It was a product marketed to the U.S. military, and we could only buy it when we were overseas. I mean, yet they still grew to be who they are today, which is not an insignificant thing. That's how influential being a respected product to military consumers is. So, by now, many of you have probably guessed who this company is. If you were active duty in the mid 90s, you're going to be familiar with this next scene. When this company finally decided to expand their business to include the enlisted side of the military, they went about marketing it all wrong. Like, if you are familiar with any type of marketing plans or anything you do like that today, the last thing you want to do is go door to door or try and find random people to get to talk to you and engage you. Um, you want to go with a better lead than that, but that's not how they did it. They hired a retired military guy because he had an ID card and could get on base, and they sent him to sit in the common areas of the barracks or dorms or whatever they were called depending on your branch of the service. He sat there until he got some young enlisted kid that was single to engage him, to make eye contact so he could start a conversation. And then he got that kid to give him his friends' phone numbers. And this is feeling sketchy already because nobody likes to do that. Nobody likes to give their friends' phone numbers out without asking first, and they really put some pressure on you to do that. The reason being was eventually this guy knew that somebody was going to complain about him, and he was going to be told he couldn't come back into that barracks or dorm without a personal invitation. So then he calls your friend. And he calls your friend and gets him to invite him over. And after he's done selling his product to your friend, then he's going to sit out in the common area again and do his paperwork while trying to engage somebody else. Like, I had one guy that did this that went so far as to become a pizza delivery guy so that he could deliver pizzas and, happened to have an extra one for free. Oh, so here with me and have a slice of pizza. I mean, just some really not on the up and up marketing practices, and especially not in the military community. It didn't feel right. Yet, they made all those mistakes, and they are so well respected in the industry. I can't even imagine how they made it with the marketing the way they did it. And they definitely weren't savvy back when they took on their first expansion. But hey, they're here today, and they did it all by marketing just to the military. So our super influential company that markets only to military members and their family members, they also survived the Great Depression and the recent recession relatively unscathed because of their customer base. Military consumers have regular paychecks, which means they don't suffer nearly as much as the non-military member when something such as a recession or a depression affects the rest of the economy. These consumers still have their regular paychecks. They may not get great raises those years, but they've still got regular paychecks. And even if they're out of town, their spouses are still paying the bills and buying the things that they need. And the retired veterans, if they have a military retiree check, it still continues to come in. They're not usually losing their jobs or having to tighten up their belt nearly as much as the rest of the population, and that kept this business afloat during economic crisis. So with everything we've discussed, I think it's a pretty obvious choice to take into consideration our military and their family members as consumers in the Hampton Roads area because they are vital to keeping our economy afloat. What I haven't seen in the local area is a resource that puts all of the businesses in like one place so that military consumers can easily find them. And that's what we're working on bringing here. That's what Hampton Roads Military Appreciation is. It's a free resource that fits on your mobile device, your phone, so that you can have these types of advertisements available to um, Hampton Roads military and veteran consumers. If you are still unsure as to who the company that I've been speaking of is, they are a major insurance carrier. They're banking. They do investment services, and they do it all and set the bar for customer service. Among other things, they are best employers to work for, and they did all of this just with the military consumer. Um, this is who I think about that sets the standard in the industry. And like I said before, this is just my opinion. I'm not advertising for them anyway. I find their story on a personal level very fascinating. How they got here using just a military consumer and then providing them excellent service because that's very important too. You don't get this way without providing excellent service. And military members kind of expect excellent service, not only from them, but from other companies. And if you have a good product and you're a military friendly company, then in closing, I would like to say thank you very much for watching my presentation. But USAA in finding out who sets the bar about how the Military Appreciation Act can help bring more military customers to your business, to grow their business. Please keep an eye out for an email. I'm sending out a video link to an interview with the developer of they are a major insurance carrier in Pensacola. He also developed my app, which I'm investment services. So he and they do it all and set the bar for how this app works. And I've got a great interview with among other things. They are best employers to work for, and they did all of this just with